Okay, let's go.
Welcome back to the CTLA4 Chronicles. On today's episode, we're going to talk about unhinged things that we have heard, both the medical settings and at home. So whether it's been in the ER, doctor's visits, or it's been friends, family, people we don't know, whether it's been at work or somebody asking about a journey, and then start to explain it to them, the unhinged things that come out of their mouths, because it is a lot.
It is, and we've got a list. We have a huge whiteboard, and we've just written so many things down, and it doesn't even really touch on what we've actually heard, and the fact that you got to keep a straight face most of the time with this stuff.
Yeah, we would have had a pretty good B-roll for today on just this, and we don't have any B-roll. We don't have any channel for that or anything like it. We don't intend to doing that anytime soon. But there was like a lot of emotions that went into this episode, just going down this road and realizing how much you have to suppress, because otherwise then you'll become unhinged, and that's the last thing I need to do, or you.
Yeah.
If we would have got mad, whether you get arrested or you get pushed out of a practice or something, anything could have happened if you can't keep your cool, push that to the side, and just keep driving to what it was. That was to get the treatment we needed by then.
Yeah, and it's not an exaggeration when you're dealing with stuff that's literally life-threatening. And you have people say just some of the most ridiculous, out-of-place things, and you're like, how do you even have a medical license?
Yeah. And like I said, for the B-roll, we were recording this and had to stop because we got to the point where I just started spacing out in disbelief. Just everything going on. Yeah,
you gotta disassociate sometimes just to be able to function.
Yeah, and some of the things that you're constantly fighting for, and there's so much more on here that we didn't even cover too. So to kind of get into today's episode, the first thing we're going to cover is some of the medical settings that we have. And we've previously covered a lot of this in medical gaslighting, some of our Odyssey episode. And so we've covered a bit, but today's idea was just to get a little bit deeper down that road and keep the awareness up of what we're going through. And not only us, but everybody else.
Yeah, because I've seen some videos on TikTok and stuff what other people have dealt with medical gaslighting. And it's just infuriating. Sometimes you laugh at it because it's holy crap, this is crazy. But then at the same time, it's this is real life that people are having to live through. You have to prove how sick you are.
Yeah.
Instead of having the doctors do the investigation, which is what they get paid to do and everything else. But I digress. So go down the rabbit hole on that.
Yeah, and the tough part about this is it's if you know, you know. If you're in the community, if you're in this hurt, you understand it, no questions asked.
Yeah.
And then really we're reaching out to friends and family who are trying to be supportive or understand, or even the medical community. We know we have professionals that watch us, and maybe they don't realize what they're saying or doing.
Yeah.
And words have power, and to talk about that and the things that we've heard and dealt with, and others as well, because not everything we're about to say or go through is specifically our story. It's family members that are also on the journey with us.
Yeah.
So kind of get us kicked off,
Maggie's, she had sent a message to the rheumatologist to go hey, the prednisone I was on, it was working for a little while, but probably wasn't enough. What do we want to do? And my sister's getting to the point where we were, before transplant. We're you start, and this is where it's, what was it in the last podcast we did about start to make decisions about your medical care and in desperation?
Yeah.
So she's almost there right now, where it's you're going to start doing your own dosages of prednisone and stuff because the doctors don't.
Risky behavior.
That's what it is. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you don't have enough. They don't have enough information to appropriately treat you, and it's frustrating for me because we have the same rheumatologist. Why are we not applying what I was doing to her? I digress again.
Yeah. With the same medical report and the exact same findings in your genetics.
Yeah.
No deviation between the two.
So frustrating, and her symptoms are different, but it stems from the same problem.
Yeah, everybody in the family, everybody who has this disease, even non-family members with similar genetic mutations or so on, everybody's presented completely different. In our family specifically, everybody has the same genetic mutation, and we are all presenting different. Between sisters, kids, siblings, so on, cousins, grandparents, everybody's showing something different. So for us, that's frustrating. That you have to explain something to the doctors over and over again.
And like, so she, asking him for advice, and she gets a response from one of the nurses today saying that they're going to forward her message to the pharmacist instead of to the rheumatologist. And, I have partial access to my sister's MyChart, and I read that message this morning, and it just, like, spun me up. I was like, what on earth are they talking about? And so my sister sent a very appropriate reply. And the nurse responded saying, oh, I'm sorry, I sent it to the wrong patient. And that was it. Like, not, I'm going to send this message to the rheumatologist, or let's discuss kind of what's going on here. No, that was it. And, like, man, that sent me for a loop, too. And, like, I can't get too vested in stuff right now because the stress will take me out, and I can't handle stress the way that I used to. But even just seeing that, I'm like, oh, my gosh. Like, I know where she's at in this portion of her journey, and it just, like, lights a fire under me. But, yeah, so that... First, let's start that off, how unhinged our morning was. With
that one's a freshie from today.
Yeah.
So, like, rolling back at some other items that we've had, when we were starting the journey and dealing with the acute liver failure, we'll get into that in a second, but we were seeing a lot of fevers. And we had fevers that were almost on a pattern. And every time we thought we figured out the pattern, we were trying to figure out, okay, so these are the dates it's happening, and what's happening on those days or leading up to this. It's causing these fevers with our youngest, and then the pattern broke. Not only did we not find a control, we didn't find a problem, we couldn't find anything that was consistent. We couldn't figure out what was going on. And once we thought we established the pattern, that network had broken. So in that time, as we're documenting all this, we were running back and forth to the pediatrician because we didn't have our specialist team yet. So this is, again, very early in the journey. And the pediatrician we go to regularly wasn't available. We were having a fever in an episode, go in, see a different pediatrician in the practice. That pediatrician tells us, if you don't look for a fever, you won't find a fever, and then laugh at us. And we had to clarify with them, like, excuse you?
Yeah.
What does this mean? I'm like, a fever's a fever. If the kid's got a fever of 104, we have to test that, take care of the child versus doing nothing.
Right, and like if you have a fever, it's going to show up when you take the temperature, whether you do a forehead scan, and like obviously there's different temps that you're going to get with that. But if it's an elevated temperature, you're going to see it. It's not like if you don't have a fever and take your temperature, it's going to show up as one. And it's like a false reading or something. I mean, it's just...
But his next question for us was, what prompted us to take the fever? I'm like, well, look at her. She doesn't look great. Why did we take a temperature? And we had been keeping a log to figure out the pattern, to see if it was maybe something she was eating or doing or sleep, something. We were trying to figure out what could have been the trigger or the factors for these temperatures. And we never figured it out. Obviously, that pattern broke, and then she was just completely... But...
Which we did end up figuring out through genetics afterwards, which is part of the...
More testing and genetics,
the familial Mediterranean fever, which is rare, as well as the CTLA4, and those two things feeding off each other causing these cycles of fevers and stuff. And, like, obviously, we didn't know that at the time, but to just dismiss us and say, like, oh, well, you stop taking her temp and you won't have an issue is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's unhinged. Crazy is not even, doesn't even cover it.
And then it gets worse, too.
Like, it's the same provider.
But
with, Catalina was vomiting and had, like, straight watery diarrhea, something I've never seen come out of a child, let alone an infant before.
And at this point, we had two other ones, so we knew what comes out of babies.
Yeah. Yep. And I remember you and I, we couldn't even have clothes on. We were just in, like, our underwear with towels everywhere because she had thrown up 25 times in one day. And you and I were, like, in and out of the shower, and we had Catalina in and out of the bath because, like, it was just so much vomiting. We couldn't even stay dressed in our own house. And then it got to a point, like, we bring her to the doctor every single day. It's like 7 or 9 days of this. And we'd go in, they'd look at her, but it was the regular pediatrician's office, so, like, nobody's doing labs or anything. And I was asking for them to send us out for testing, and they kept saying that she had, like, a GI bug, gastroenteritis, that she's having a hard time fighting off. And she had lost 2 pounds, so she's 5 months old at this point and weighs 12 pounds, which is tiny. She was itty bitty, and we're like, she's lost 2 pounds, like, that's huge. Something's wrong. And, like, she was functioning at, like, barely awake during the day and stuff because her body was so exhausted. And they're like, oh, it's fine. Like, she's having a hard time. And
at this point is when we figured out more about our insurance, that we could self.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were self-referring to try and get help because we really weren't getting help. in that office. We were just constantly in there. It felt like we were spinning our wheels.
Yep.
The longer we went, the more risk our child was at. Full failure.
She was just getting sicker and sicker, and then finally, like, I told Dan, I was like, we gotta just take her down to Yale. We can't be doing this. And I put her in the car, and I took her to the Children's Hospital, and that's when we found out that she was in acute liver failure. And they said that we were 24 to 36 hours away from either a massive GI bleed that probably would have killed her, or a brain bleed. And I actually had to climb into, it was an MRI, I believe. I had to climb into the MRI machine with her at 5 months old and hold her down so they could do an MRI to try to see if she had a bleed, because of how off all of her coagulation levels were. So liver failure causes bleeding problems, and she was in a severe state of having a massive bleed. So we had to do all that, which is crazy, because then the GI doctor that we had afterwards told us that if we didn't figure out what caused her liver failure in 3 weeks, that we would never know, and like we needed to just stop asking questions, because every time we saw this individual, I was like, do we have any new information? What's going on? Like, what are our options to even be looking at right now? And there was like no help from him. He's very dismissive, which was obnoxious. We ended up firing him.
Yeah, I was going to say that we ended up firing him. This was a part why. Had zero connection with us or our needs or our daughter's health.
Yeah, and it was just like, oh, well, if we can't figure it out with like the top 3 reasons, then you'll never know. And we looked at the statistics. 30 to 50% of what they call PALF, which is pediatric acute liver failure, ends with a diagnosis or lack of diagnosis, which is called idiopathic liver failure.
And we understand that that's a large range, but it depends what study you look at, because some are 30 to 32% and some are 50%. Both are credible. So we're not going to cite either one in the video. You guys can do your own research depending on how you feel about it. But it doesn't matter which study you're looking at. We fell into one where we had idiopathic issues.
But it wasn't, because we ended up figuring out that it was like the T cells.
At the time, it was idiopathic.
Yes.
Because they couldn't figure it out. So we kept going genetics. Once we went further down.
Yeah, and it was like a retrospective thing where they're like, oh, okay, her liver failure wasn't just random. It was because of X, Y, and Z.
Which leads us back to the beginning in our other episode with zebras, not horses, with hoof beats. Doctors just pushing you aside with these unhinged things that they're saying.
Just rule it out. And it's like,
you can go home. We'll give you some meds. You'll be good as new, or no idea. We were at the time, with everything going on in that window, 4 different instances where we were told to prepare for end of life.
Yeah. Well, which was scary. And like when we were in the hospital with her liver issues, she had a massive bleed when we were getting ready to leave. She had an IV in her foot, and they took the IV out of her foot, put a bandage on. We had to touch her for a little while because they knew that she was having bleeding issues. She was also vitamin K deficient, which is very rare. She had to get another vitamin K shot, which they usually give babies at birth. And if the baby doesn't get that at birth, they're at a very increased risk of having severe hemorrhage spontaneously.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was holding her, walking around, and I looked down, and there's blood all over the floor. And I thought, am I having a nosebleed? Because at the time, I was having bleeding issues, and I hadn't been diagnosed with my bleeding disorder yet. And then I looked down, and she was just raining blood from her foot. And like, I remember putting her on the bed, and like, thankfully there was a nurse right there. It was all very, very quick, but it was scary. And like, what if something like that had happened at home or whatever? And like, we have had issues.
Or worse, what about internal bleeding?
Right.
That we couldn't see.
And she had a lot of that.
Yeah.
She had so many GI bleeds. Like, she would wake up in the middle of the night. This is, a little off topic, but she'd wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning, and she would have dried blood all around her mouth. She would have dried blood on her sheets. Like, she was spitting up, and there were no cuts in her mouth. There wasn't protruding. We couldn't figure it out. But then she would go into these episodes where she would be vomiting blood. She would have blood in her stool, and it was like, all ended up coming back to CTLA-4 inflammation. But how many doctors were like, meh,
call it a day.
Don't even worry about it. She's going to be fine. And like, literally, that kid survived so much.
Another thing we heard from the doctors, and this is wild because it pertained to so many family members, including you and Catalina, and even Juliana. But like, doctors telling us, oh, your labs are fine, they're normal, which is the exact opposite of your labs are terrible. But then the other times we would go in and be like, these aren't good. There's a lot of information. There is some bad lab work here. We can't figure out why. What meds do you want so you can just go home? We're like, what? It's like, no, I don't want just random medication. I want you guys to do the research, do the work, and
Right.
tell us what is causing this. Again, this is before we discovered CTLA-4 and we got to do the genetics and figure out what was going on inside of bodies of everyone.
Yeah. You'd be on one end of the spectrum, like you said, oh, your labs are normal. Shrug your shoulders.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything. So then, like, you go in the next time and they're like, wow, everything's really inflamed. This is kind of bananas. I don't know. And, like, we've even been.
It's so crazy.
I know. We've been in the emergency room, and, like, well, one thing about having a rare disease or a chronic disease or something is, like, when you go into the emergency room by yourself, you get treated a lot differently than when you go in with an advocate. Like, if I bring him with me, completely different. They take me so much more seriously, so much more urgently than, like, if I go in and I explain what's going on with myself, or if I bring, like, one of my friends Amber, last year, I don't even know how many times she got me to the emergency room. So that way we didn't have to find childcare for kids at home. And, like, it was insane. One doctor in the ER, I had a severe tremor of the nervous system. So, like, I was just shaking. It was crazy. And it was like my whole body. I felt like I was dying. And he was like, yeah, you have a severe tremor of the nervous system. You should get a neurologist. And I was like, I have a referral, but I can't get in for another, like, 3 months.
Need help today.
Yeah, and he was like, well, this is an ER and you're not dying. I can see your labs look terrible, so I'm not going to do any more lab work today. What kind of meds do you want? And he was talking about narcotics, and he was talking about muscle relaxers. And it's just like, at the time, I was like, I don't want any of that. Like, I want to have an answer. Like, how do you make this stop? Because, like, it feels like I'm going to just collapse at any moment.
Yeah.
And for them to be like, well, it doesn't seem like you're going to die tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, wait till your referral's up.
Yeah, which is absolutely insanity.
Unhinged.
Yeah,
No, it's unhinged.
you're right.
It's unhinged.
Oh.
Like, some other stuff we went through, oh wow, you're a medical mystery. And then they sit there and scratch their heads, look at the notes again in front of you, and like, don't know if we can ever figure out the cause of your pain. So we're going to try to bridge that gap with more medication.
With more narcotics.
So it was either narcotics or prednisone, something. They would just pick a random thing that was going to help, but they were always band-aids to leave them. They never really got us the result we were looking for.
And by the time that I got in with the neurologist, within 30 days of that appointment, I was already set up at the transplant room up in Boston, and like things moved very quickly after that, which like.
Yeah, which thank goodness, because it got us to where we are now, which is results.
Right, and like most of my neurological problems and stuff are gone, which is fantastic. Like the tremor that I have now is actually from one of my medications.
Yeah, once you taper off of those, it'll be better.
Right.
We know.
Exactly. And like being called a medical mystery, I remember my mom talking about that a lot when I was a kid and like hating it because like once you get labeled as that, I swear they put it in the chart. Like you could see a lot with my chart now, but like back in the day, you couldn't really see the notes that the doctors were putting in, the stuff they were writing about you. And like I've gotten my mom's medical note now, and I've been able to read like what they thought she had, and like the fact that they thought she had Munchausen's at one point. And she was just making it up. And it's like, who wants to, like, there are people who do this, that's why it's a thing. But, like, in general, who wants to do that? Let alone the fact that she was coming in with a life-threatening problem that they had to fix, and then to be like, oh, you're a medical mystery.
Making it up.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing's crazy. And, like, same thing with us. And, like, even with Catalina being as sick as she was, and they're like, I don't know, are you guys doing this on purpose? And it's like, why do I want to live here? This is not the life that I would want.
Yeah, and then like another example is we had a doctor told you guys the big happy facts.
Oh.
His answer was, wow, there's a lot going on. As he's reading the chart, puts everything down and goes, have you tried thinking happy thoughts? Because if you do, you won't notice your symptoms. Talk about Unhinged.
Yeah, like I was there for that appointment that was with my sister at a neurologist, and she had a bunch of testing done, and she's been having neurological symptoms for years now. And he just didn't have an answer, which would have been fine. And like his doctors, I feel like if they're more honest with the fact that they don't understand, it's a lot easier for you to digest that than for them to be like, if you just don't think about the symptoms that are impacting your daily life, then you're just going to be happier. So like, ignore them.
Happy thoughts, baby.
disassociate.
Oh,
You'll
yeah,
be able to function.
that falls under Unhinged.
And so I remember when he said that to her, and she just looked at me like, say something to him. And I remember asking him to like clarify. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but like if you spend your whole day worrying about the symptoms that you have, then like what kind of life are you living?
Yeah,
And,
you're letting life pass you by.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah. And like, for my sister and even for myself, having these symptoms, they're so debilitating. Like, you can't even function because you're in so much pain or you're physically limited in like range of motion and stuff. And it's like, but if you just don't think about it, then
everything's fine.
Oh, I can't open this jar, but if I just thought happier thoughts, it would just pop open for me. Maybe I need to manifest a little harder.
There it is.
Absolutely unhinged.
So, before we stay too long on this one, how about what was going on with her hand?
So it was before she got into the rheumatologist we have now, and like, it's been a long battle. But the first rheumatologist, when she was having that flare up of dermatomyositis, the skin and muscle inflammation, they did a biopsy, and the biopsy result from a pathologist who doesn't know my sister, doesn't know the whole history. It's literally just a sample of the cell or whatever, and like, go look at this. Obviously, that's funny, but her biopsy result showed that it was likely dermatomyositis or something very similar to that. When the rheumatologist got that report back, he actually told my sister that there's no way that could possibly be it. It probably is. Because she wasn't sick enough to have that, even though she couldn't use her hands properly. She had the nodules that are like described as part of this, and just the general inflammation, the fact she had low-grade fever, everything. And he told her that her hands hurt because she was a newly single mom, was stressed, and was clenching her fists while she was sleeping.
Yeah, let that one sit.
As opposed to looking at the report from the pathologist and looking at my sister's like physical symptoms, like unhinged.
Yeah, Unhinged.
That one's pretty crazy. We kind of talked on Munchausen's by proxy and like Munchausen's in general, which if you don't know what that is, it's where it's a psychological condition, and you either make up like problems about yourself, like whether it's for attention. I don't really understand the basis of it. I've never really looked into it. It's not us.
Yeah.
And then Munchausen's by proxy is similar, but it's where you like do something to your child or whoever you're a caretaker for, making them sicker or whatever than they actually are. Like that one chick. Her mom.
Yeah.
That chick. Her mom had Munchausen's by proxy, and then like a whole crazy story. Yeah, so like that's an extreme variation, and we've never been like formally accused of that, which is great. But
but we've had doctors who have brought it up in the room, asking if this is really happening.
Yeah,
like something else, and like have alluded to it, and we're like, no, check the charts. We've been here a lot.
Yeah, like look at the lab work, look at the past things, and like, especially now that we're on the right medications and stuff, like we don't even really go to the ER anymore. But at one point, we were on like first name basis with
a lot of the staff.
And
receptionists and nurses. Oh yeah, people know us. Oh no, these are back. Yeah, and then every time we got admitted, they have rooms and toys set up for the kids.
Catalina had specific things. Oh, there was one room that like they used to let you write on the walls and on the ceiling for like if someone comes you've been in the room, you're like the current person or whatever. But now they don't let you do that anymore. But we were in the same room like 3 or 4 times. Like PTSD or that, but I guess.
So moving on with all those, that covers the majority. We could do this all about our medical issues, but let's cover some stuff about like friends, family, and others. A couple of different stuff real quick.
Yeah, so like what we hear or what we have heard a lot is like you don't look that sick. Like the kids don't look that sick. Like, are you sure they actually have this? And that almost goes back into like
medical gaslighting.
Yeah,
because that's what it feels like. Everybody's trying to change what we know and what we feel, but they're not the ones living it. So when you get that snapshot of a family member or a friend and you see them for a couple hours a day, no, we're not going to go out on our sickest day. The kids and the family are doing okay. Just take the time to go out, try to adventure and have fun, and it's like, why would you want to take that away from us or leave us with this food?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, but this is what we dealt with.
Yeah.
Sure.
And like same thing with me being like post-transplant. Like I put up an update on Facebook. We haven't really talked about it, but like I don't have an immune system right now. You know, I'm 240-ish days. I don't have it quite down how many days out I am right now. But like 240-ish days out, and I still don't have even remotely the right amount of T cells. Like I'm supposed to be somewhere maybe around 200. And normal on the low end it's 500, and I'm at a staggering 39. So I have
Team's really coming back.
Yeah, I've got no real ability to fight anything off right now, on top of the immune suppression that I'm still on. And like I did get to finish my Tacro, so I'm not taking that anymore. It's my anti-rejection med, and that's like exciting. I've been on that since transplant. And like I've had people say, like, well, you don't look that sick. Like, how come you're you do your hair and makeup and stuff, and like treat me not the way that I should be treated because of perception. Yeah, like I do this to make myself feel better because like what am I gonna do? Look like a bag of butt for no reason every day. And like unless I'm really sick and on the couch and can't get up, like I like to make myself feel better by like a routine basically. And like I talked to my doctor about this too, and she said it's really hard because people don't understand, like they haven't been through it, but I get it. But like it's a whole systemic thing. My body, head to toe, inside out, is completely different because of this transplant, the treatment, conditioning, everything. It's just like I may never be normal, but to have like family be like, you don't look as sick as you should be, or even friends that are like, you know, how come you're not making time for X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And it's like, I really can't. Like, I cannot go into the movies. I can't go to malls. I can't eat in restaurants. I can't really do anything. And I've been referring to myself as a house cat lately because I just stay home and, like, look out the window and, you know, putz around. And, like, I do more than that, but it's a funny joke, and it's just...
And, like, before transplant, people were always telling us, oh, at least you can still work. And it's like, well, work is in the same setting because it's public, and like where we work, there's thousands upon thousands of people, and you have interactions with tens to 20s to hundreds in a day. And, you know, it's a very cutthroat operation, so people are there regardless if they're doing well or not. People are always coming in trying to make their impact, and like having dealing with these people was a risk because it had high exposure for you. And so I'm like, right now you can't even pump your own gas without wearing a mask and gloves and stuff, or having somebody else do it. You don't know whose hands get on that pump gas.
Right, and like it doesn't matter the amount of hand sanitizer or anything else. Like if I have a cut on my hand or something, then I'll do that. I look at the blood infecting.
Right.
Like that stuff's life threatening. You know, it's not just like, oh, we're gonna have a cold. It's like to put me down and out or kill me.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I wouldn't even consider talking about.
I know.
Even getting fuel for you in your car is a problem. And yeah, people want to tell us it's okay, everything's not that bad, these happy thoughts, and so on and so forth, without having the intimate knowledge of what's going on with this disease or this whole process. And, you know, others who try to tell us that they know our protocol or what the protocol should be like.
Oh,
that's another one under like medical gaslighting, but unhinged thoughts for us.
Yeah, like people who know somebody who's been through a bone marrow transplant or who's been through chemo for cancer or something else, and applying like what they've heard secondhand to us as like a strict guideline.
Yeah.
So like absolutely unhinged. If you're not doing it the way that like we have been told by other people because they've been through something that's different but similar, then you're not doing it right.
Well, everybody's journey and story is different.
100%. Yeah.
So that's on my list. And I mean that one goes into the last one I'm going to say because also had friends and family and stuff who would say, oh, we know so and so who's also had this other problem. Not at all what you're going through, or the kids, or anybody else. And they did this, and they're all magically better. Like, you should do crystal herbs. You should do this medicine. You should do that one. Yoga. Yeah, that's what I'm
manifest the happy thoughts.
And along with that, we've had people that have said, maybe it's the medication. You don't really know what you're taking, and you guys should get off all the meds. Like, no, that's a bad idea.
Oh, you guys are just guinea pigs. Yes. Yes, we are. Guess what? Being a guinea pig has literally saved our lives. Because if we weren't and we went by this like boxed in standard of BS, one of us, if not multiple of us, would already be dead.
Yeah.
And like that's a very real. Like I wish I was exaggerating sometimes when we talk about this.
People don't realize that you've had to come to terms with mortality more than once, and like expectations for you and the girls, because we've been so close. We've been on the brink. Our older daughter was several times early in life for her. Our youngest daughter was several times through this whole thing up until about 2 years ago, a year ago, when she started to stable out. Hey, the moon's aligned right, medication's working a little bit better, and she's not thriving, but also not failing. But we have a new baseline.
Yep.
And
like she's good. 6 years old and she's only 36 pounds. Like we cannot get her to gain weight.
That's on a good day.
Yeah, and it goes back into life when she was 5 months old and only 12 pounds. She was so sick that she couldn't gain weight, and she's just sick differently now, where her immune system is working so hard to just be homeostasis that it's using up all of the energy. And like that's just the theory. We don't 100% know, but I mean, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, and like just she's having malabsorption. She's not getting enough. She still has the G2, which is feeding tube in her stomach. We're doing those every other night or night. She's also eating in between.
She's eating a lot better than she was.
Yeah, because she wants to get really food.
Yeah, and that's frustrating. Like she can't go through transplant unless she weighs more, and like that's a whole different balancing act. That like we'll get into that when we really need to. Transplant goes to the table, I think.
Yeah, you needed it first anyway, so it was a lot more.
Yeah, and another thing I didn't think about was they didn't want to do our transplants at the same time because of the risk of something happening to one of us and then the other one not doing well because of that. And I had a hard time kind of understanding that until we dealt with, stressful situations post-transplant that have put me completely out. And I've had to, get fluids 3 times now for stuff that no identifiable cause other than stress. And like the fact that like it's scary to think about that because I'm like, obviously the doctor's right. But like we didn't understand that until now. Like I used to be able to handle stress and I used to thrive under stressful situations, but now it almost kills me. So all the jokes I used to make about how internalizing everything was gonna, kill all my organs and stuff, that's real life.
And like additionally things, these stories just keep going. And it's crazy. Or like to have somebody say, you guys are always sick or you guys always have something going on. It's like, we know we do. It's our lives, first off. Second off, like, we're fully aware. That's why we're going to the doctors. That's why we're getting,
I know, that's almost opinions. Like the opposite end from like the medical gaslighting side where, like, oh, well, we don't know what's actually wrong. What's wrong with you? Whatever. To have people be like, you guys are always sick. This is weird. And it's like, yes.
I don't even know how else to answer. You look at me seriously in the face and you're like, yes, I'm aware. Like, what else should you do?
I know. And this goes back to like being able to hold like a straight face and stuff and be like,
yeah, and kind of like how we started the episode. I know what's going on here, but we started it and you gotta dissociate and put the stuff to the side. So otherwise, you'll inadvertently make enemies of family and friends that you don't want to. You'll push away doctors that could be trying to help, don't understand, or prevent you from having a bad interaction with one doctor to stop you from going to talk to another one in the same field. And these are just some of the obstacles that we face, and having to almost have not like a professional, but I guess it's the best way to describe it.
A poker
face here. When you talk about individuals, otherwise it goes bad, and that's the last thing we need. So.
Hold on, before we wrap this up.
Oh, I wasn't ready to wrap up.
Oh, okay.
I had more to go.
All right. I was going to say, touching on that, like, having people's opinions come out, like, everyone's going to have to what's going on. So, like, when we traveled the country, I don't even know how many hospitals we went to. We were flying across the country to get answers for not just the family, but like realistically saving Catalina's life. We've sent blood to Germany. We've talked to people literally around.
We sent blood to the UK.
Well, Germany. The UK like replicated that stuff.
Yeah, so sent the blood all the time. I remember. Okay. We had a secretary.
Yeah, so twice now we've sent blood overseas.
Yeah.
And like with all of that information, we've had people tell us that like we're seeking too many opinions. We have too many doctors involved, even though we have an answer. And then we had people tell us that we needed to get more opinions.
Because they didn't like the answer that we had when we stopped getting this.
Right, because like eventually you either hit like brick walls and you have to, you know, find
Make a
a different
decision.
path or whatever. Yep.
Yeah.
Or you do get an answer. And like in our case, we ended up with an answer. It took a while, but like we got there. So like, why are we going to dig farther to make that stuff?
And it got to a point where doctors were started, without talking to each other, were giving us the same answers. So
Right.
everybody was coming to the same conclusion on what's going on, how to address it with the notes and data that we gave them.
Right.
Or when they reached out to our home team,
Yep.
no, when they reached out to, yeah, obviously when they reached out to colleagues who were trying to put everything together, put the puzzle together, but like when they reached out to the home team, got more information or what they've been seeing with dealing with full detail. They were coming to the same conclusion. They're going to call back. And like some of these doctors are still in touch with us today, not as often as they have been, but like we've traveled up and down the East Coast, the Midwest. We've gone out as far as the Mayo Clinic. We've done to Cincinnati. We've done to CHOP. We've had doctors in Tennessee, research and children's hospitals back to us.
In Florida.
In Florida, we've gone down there for several doctors. We've had the NIH involved, Johns Hopkins involved. We've had
everybody for writing
Yale,
research.
Boston. We've had research teams here in Connecticut and other places. Like this is not a small feat that we've gone through.
Yeah, I talked to the UK actually, like not a specific hospital, but I talked to a group of people from the UK almost weekly about primary immune deficiency surveys and like questionnaires and stuff that they want people to sign up for and whatnot. I talked to them.
So if you want to be on the questionnaire, let us know.
No, seriously, because
they're looking to help. So we have international teams that we're working with. There's obviously plenty of local and national teams here in the United States. The doctor we needed from Germany, scientist there who did the research and doctor, he was on a trip to California.
He was on a sabbatical to go to California to research other genetic stuff that was like slightly outside his realm of CTLA-4 specific stuff in Germany.
And when we found out that he was there, we were able to get in contact with the lab that he was in. And again, sometimes these connections that we make, you don't even realize how astronomical they are.
Yeah.
But like we were able to get a hold of him and his team, get their input, and they told us what the next steps were, and we were able to replicate them and continue the research and the work we were doing. So
it's crazy. And like one of the other unhinged things that happened that kind of goes into this conversation is like I remember being in a GI appointment before I got in with the GI people that I have now, and they were asking about CTLA-4. So I gave them a brief explanation of what CTLA-4 was. Who in the family had been diagnosed, that's why they left the room, Googled what CTLA-4 was, found, the NIH's explanation, NORD's explanation, which is the National Organization for Rare Disease, and then I think some other one. And they printed one of them out and then handed it to me and then told me that they had to go Google it and they were going to do more research on it. And, we were talking about this before we did the episode, but we're soon going to have, like, our family and a whole research paper published in the Journal of Medicine. And, like, at some point, these doctors are going to go try to Google something and they're going to come back with our family's paper. And it's like, we might know a thing or two.
Yeah. And, with all this, the unhinged things that you said, and like there's a lot to digest in this episode.
Oh, we'll probably do more like unhinged, versions, but.
Well, I was gonna say the one that really bothers me is like, the kids look great. Are you sure that fit? Are you sure that they have the right diagnosis? And yes, I am. I have a genetic panel that knows what's wrong. So I know what's wrong, and I know what the wrong is causing. And not only here, but like several families.
Right, and like we've been in the hospital when they've been at their absolute worst. And like, yes, we post pictures and updates and stuff, but like other families can relate to this, but like you don't know what that feels like until you are in that hospital room with your child that is unresponsive. Yep. Oh my gosh, yep. And it's like, are they that sick or are they, I have goosebumps. Like, are they that sick and like, is this really impacting them and everything else? Like, yes, but I have seen the worst of this.
You know what's really from this up is that like one of my favorite pictures is we have a video and a picture of she was at her sickest. She rolled over, barely responsive. This looks like because know we went on a rampage, got really loud, emotional, but we are a family of warriors. And we know others are too. You know what that feeling in that fight is like. Power that's so to see our kids so feel this that yes, our children and our family are this way. Yes, we are fighting.
Yeah, and it's hard when you we have lots of pictures from those times that come up on our Googles and stuff, and you love to see them because it's like a happy moment in the middle of chaos, but then it's also like sad realization that these kids have lived through more than most adults have in their short lives, and like just the struggles and stuff. And he's right, like we are a family of warriors. These girls are tough as nails, tougher than most adults. And like it says a lot. And there's a lot of kids out there that are fighting stuff like this.
But just because your kid doesn't have a hole no longer required or have cancer, something that's tangible, visible, on an image to the hospital doesn't need to be immediate not going through some trial degree of everything. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else on it or not because
just
the depth is there.
Yeah, and like invisible illness is real and hits hard because, like you said, if it's not something that you can see on imaging or on an outward appearance, it makes the whole thing even harder. They don't believe you. Sometimes they don't even need to, but they're saying unhinged, very unhinged things.
Yeah. And it takes everything in you to be
Strong.
a good parent, strong, not only for your kid, but all the unhinged things that you do.
Yeah, and holding your composure, especially at family gatherings and stuff, and you hear certain things, and again, you don't want to cause a rift in your family or something, so you truck on through and you disassociate and you shove that to the back of your mind until you're about to do a podcast and you're writing everything out and you go, oh my gosh, what happened?
I mean, it happened in the workplace too with friends and coworkers, and I have a lot of friends who have gone through usually a form of cancer or something in their family, whether it's a one-off or something that's gone through in the family line. And so to them, they have a relatable story to understand the fact that it's unique to us because their story is death.
Right.
So we were able to share those
moments. Yeah.
And that's always refreshing to have somebody to connect with because for every person that gets it, there's a ton of different.
Right, and in the workplace, it can be hard when you're missing a lot of work, and that can be a completely different unhinged episode because, man, do I have some stories.
Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for today's episode of Unhinged things we've dealt with.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in.
Until next time, thank you for joining us on the CTLA4 Chronicles.